Retro Racing reports from Carrell Speedway out of Gardena, California. Now, this comes off of the stack of programs that I got long ago from my old friend Carl Marizzi. Carl's dad worked with the Durr brothers, who were the concessionaires throughout Los Angeles, but they were also at many racetracks, the Durr brothers. And so Carl got access to the racetracks and whatever else, and he was fascinated by all these things. And so this is one from his stack of things. Carrell Speedway, 1954. Carl has annotated this a little bit, so that's his probably 13-year-old handwriting in here. And it's just fascinating for me to look at this thing from 1954, which makes it 70 years old. There are just a couple of racing images in here. They're posed J.C. Agajanian and trophies and that sort of thing. And a story which was reprinted from the LA Daily News by Charles Gunnett. I'll put it in there. You'll see. And it's a chat with Sam Hanks. A lot of folks these days are forgetting who these old guys are, so it's wonderful to have these out here. How about coming along with me today while we drop in and pay a visit to a national champion who won his title in what is the toughest kind of sports competition? The fellow we're looking for is Sam Hanks, the 1953 American Automobile Association Big Car Champ. He lives in Burbank when he isn't touring the states in search of races. Here's his place on Hollywood Way. You can see it's a modest home, even if a big and new Lincoln adorns the driveway. Watch out for the spraying sprinklers. A pretty lady named Alice opens the door. Well, Sam's in the den, working on a scrapbook, Mrs. Hanks explains. My notebook caddy, 9-year-old lad named Greg, proceeds us. Come on in, says Sam, which is a little unnecessary because Greg was already there. Trying to catch up with this stuff, Sam adds after acknowledging the introductions. He keeps on pacing and talking while we admire the many trophies that form a small golden fence all around the room. I'm busy all the time, out almost every night to some kind of meeting. Hardly any chance to play poker anymore. I saved this column you had on the need for a big track here. The lean, clean-cut Hanks is as fast with conversation as he is in the cockpit of a racing car, but I want to steer him around to the speed dodge. I asked him about how he won his championship, and we learned a few facts. Well, he scored 400 points more than his closest rival, who was Jack McGrath. In the dozen championship events, he was high in the money in 8 of them. He was third at Indianapolis, was first at the checkered flag at Springfield and DuQuoin. So Greg was thumbing through an earlier scrapbook during this period. Comes across a photograph of Sam during the 1939 edition when Hanks was a hot dog at Gilmore. You look better then, the undiplomatic 9-year-old said. Well, don't tell Alice, cautions Hank, which prompts the question of age. I'll be 40 my next birthday, he declares. When did you start driving? In 1936. We calculate that as 18 years, although you have to knock off a few for a racing blackout during the war. Sam wouldn't have been around to compete then anyway. He was a lieutenant in the Air Corps and served as a flight test engineer. Ever been seriously injured? No, broke my right ankle once, that's all. I was shaken up a few times and had the usual contusions and abrasions. The conversations temporarily ended when Alice calls from another room. Pictures on, Sam. We all dash in to look at Hanks on television. Does a nice job of telling about some product, too. I think it's Bardol, which is the name on the side of the car he tooled to the title. And now it's back to the den. Sam stokes up a pipe, then we start doing a little more garage driving. When's your next race? I'm going to go to Carrell on Sunday. That's a midget grind, and Sam's as hot in the small buggies as he is in the big ones. He was a national champ in 1949. But what about Indianapolis this year? Ed Walsh has the Bardol Special all fixed up. I feel ready. Had a lot of practice. Drove over 2,600 miles there testing tires for Firestone. Averaged something like 136. But what happened last year when you had to ask for relief? My arms gave out on me. Had to struggle with a new safety belt we installed the morning of the race, so I was driving with my knee and tugging at the belt with both hands. The little interview is about over when Alice comes in with a request. The missus wants Sam to fix one of the sprinkler heads. One pansy seemingly isn't getting enough water. Well, Sam Hanks finished outside the top 10 on February 14, 1954. The program does not indicate where exactly he finished. But in just a few years, Hanks did manage to win the Indianapolis 500. The year was 1957.